did a lot of recording yourself of the album, right?
It's all self-produced, yeah.
How was it?
It was a little frightening at first, but I had a really great engineer working with me this time. I felt very comfortable being in there. I also just knew what I wanted. I knew that this had to be a big departure from what I had done for the last records, for the Maricopa trilogy. And I also wanted the songs and production to match the story. For instance, I'll give you an example of this. There's people I talk about on this album, like Percy Faith is one of them, who's a pop arranger of the 1950s and 60s. Yep. Ray Conniff's another one.
Yep, singers.
Yeah, the Ray Conniff singers. So I knew I wanted to have something that responds to that or gives a cue to them. And so we had lush strings in the record, and which you definitely hear on a song like Over Rainbows and Rainier. So it was a matter of like bringing in those influences that I love so much of the production and arranging part of it, and mixing it with this acoustic element. Let your cries be of joy, may it always and forever fill the void. Allow my heart some room, may it be so that you'll one day need me soon. It's a pretty dry sounding record. Like, there's not a lot of effects on my vocals. With like the Maricopa trilogy, my voice is just soaked in reverb, and this is a very intimate sounding record. A song like Over Rainbows and Rainier, where you hear my guitar creaking and my chair being moved. It's a very intimate sounding record. It's very different. So this world will go with me if I can just get them all on my side. Carry me over rainbows and rainier, and carry me over rainbows and Rainier. I think the Rainier represents, my ex-wives and my kids. Mm-hmm.
So it's a very personal song.
Oh, it's a very personal song, yeah. It's funny too, because the album itself is very, very foretelling. It's weird is that I was talking with a friend of mine the other day about this. I was saying, I need to stop writing songs. He said, and I said, because it's all coming true. The album was written, a little over a year ago and recorded a year ago. And I find that it's all prophetic. I didn't know it a year ago, but these are goodbye songs. So, I've lived in Washington State for the past 33 years now, and I'm moving to California.
Whoa.
Yeah. So carry me over rainbows and Rainier. I was the kind of musician that would pull into a place like Los Angeles, and I would leave immediately after the show. I did not like being in LA. I didn't like being in Southern California. Northern California I can kind of handle because it was a little reminiscent of the North where I was from, but I didn't like it. But when I went down to record this album, something happened. I was standing outside the studio one night, and I felt like something was calling to me. I didn't know what it was, but yeah, so I'm going. Over Brooklyn skies, where the raindrops fell, I lost my voice to the one I love, and then
Why did you want to make a song about Marvin Kaplan?
2016 was a very difficult year for me. I was having a lot of mental, emotional stuff happening, and a lot of anxiety attacks, and so I just did this thing where I just sort of I decided to get offline and kind of fade out for a while, and got rid of my cellular phone, got a landline, sort of unplugged, and then I just started just sort of turned off the world for a while, for a few months there, and I started diving into childhood television shows I grew up with from America. One of them was a show called Alice I was really connected to. One of the characters in the show is played by Marvin Kaplan. Henry is his name. Yeah. And I really, really fell in love with Henry, his character. And not only that, I found that show after show I was watching that I became so invested in these shows that I find my mind was doing things like for the show, for instance, on the show Alice, you see the front door is always in view, and there's people walking in the front door. Now, logically, you can say, okay, that's a painted set of the outside. But I started noticing and wondering, what is that store across the street? Or who drives that car? Even though it's painted, And I noticed that throughout the show, there was a payphone on the wall in the diner, the Mel's Diner where the show takes place. And when you call the diner, the payphone, it always rings. And so people answer it. And Henry, Marvin Kaplan's character, works for the phone company. So he's in there all the time. And he became a regular on the show. But it got to the point where anytime the phone would ring, I would wonder if it was someone I knew calling the show or calling the diner, or I wonder if it was me on some other parallel reality calling the show. It's very strange. But the long story short is this, how it goes back to Marvin Kaplan was that I became so invested in these characters of these shows. And I think that's how the character of this story develops on the record. And you will wonder how, where the raindrops fell, I lost myself to the one I love, and then Alice came around again like she always does.
It struck me that just a few minutes ago you said, I had a very hard year in 2016. Are you happy now?
I'm happy that I'm starting to love myself and take care of myself better. I just spent a lot of time not knowing how to do that, and now I'm learning how to do that. So, yeah, and then I'm not on any I'm not doing any medications or or drugs or whatever. I'm not doing that at all, but I'm just taking care of myself. I'm learning to love myself for the first time, I think, in ages. So, or ever really.
There's a big contradiction in that, because you write personal songs. Mm-hmm. In interviews, it feels very personal, on a very strong personal level. So we keep on asking you questions about your state of happiness and about the content of the songs that you write.
Yeah. I think that no matter what I do, I try to be personal, although it's very frightening. Yeah, it's funny. A few seconds ago, you said it seemed like a contradiction. I can tell you right now, I am a walking contradiction. To everybody, it looks like a huge contradiction, but to me, it makes perfect sense. To me, it makes perfect sense. I don't live in the middle. I'm either left or I'm right. I'm either north or I'm south. There is no middle ground with me. So which I think frustrates a lot of people. I know, but I'm a walking contradiction. There are some days where I I can be, completely into something. And the next day, I could care less about it.
Yeah. The origin of beautiful songs.
The origin of you think that's the origin of beautiful songs?
Could be.
Contradiction?
Yeah. Well, if you talk a lot to yourself.
I'm talking a lot to myself.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes too much to myself. So now I'm just talking to other people. The imaginary me walking around the world somewhere.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
And I hope to see you soon again.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.